Good morning, Dwayne with PhoenixTypewriter.com. We're going to show you how to do a little melding, something I perfected about 30 years ago, and I had to had a plastic part I couldn't fix, and I had to do something. So I glued it together, but then I also impregnated hot metal into the repair to strengthen it. And I've been using that same technique on all kinds of plastic, small and large and thick and thin. There are some plastics that won't work, that won't melt. They're different compound, but you don't find that too often. So I got a little donor piece, just a piece of plastic knife here. Couldn't find anything else real quick. So we're going to break this in half and we're going to put it back together. So we need heat, so you can use a torch, small torch. Sometimes you can use a lighter. You can use a little hand torch. This thing's pretty nifty. See that thing flame out? Nice. Or sometimes, if you got a big item, you gotta get the big torch. Very rarely do you need something like an acetylene torch, because all we're heating up is pretty small parts. You know, going to be a small washer or a paper clip like that. So let's hop to it. We don't need the lighter. We're not going to use this piece. We're going to set the torch aside. We need some tape, maybe, possibly super glue, possibly something to hold your hot piece. This one's been used many times. That tip has seen a lot of heat. And then a couple tools, something to possibly push what we're doing in. You can also use your finger occasionally, and let's get to it. And some epoxy. When it's all done and said, there's a metal piece, and you can also put some epoxy on this to strengthen it too. Not always necessary. And then you need some pieces of metal. So I've got a whole bunch of these little lock washers. They work great, you'll see, because when they get melted into the plastic will come out between all these little pokey things, and it just secures it just super tight. If it was a flat washer, you know, it'd be limited to how much comes around there. But these little guys with the pokey things, little tabs here, they work great for this particular application. So let's get to this. Okay, I'm going to break this in half. Nowhere in particular, just okay. It also had a little piece that just flew off, but we'll deal with that. Okay, so see, there's a gap, you know, that sticks together. If it's a freshly broken piece, you can squeeze that together to barely see that gap. There's a piece that broke off. See that little piece right there? There's a little chunk that broke off, but so we'll use that side as our. But see, okay, let's go ahead and super glue this back together. Super glue does work pretty good on plastic, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't have any holding strength. This tube is clogged. Come on. Piece of junk. Okay. Just as little as possible, just to stick these two together and line them up and squeeze them, and you'll see that gap go away pretty good. This doesn't always work. Sometimes you just gotta hold the pieces together, or clamp them together, or tape them together, or something, but this should work. Okay, see, it's together. It's really not that strong of a hold, but it's together. Well, let's hold this a little longer. Like I said, this is not the permanent fix. This is just to get the part ready to be fixed. It's not really holding very good here. Let's try this a little bit more before I abandon it. Process here and just do it. Alright, let's see if that held. Okay, it's together, and it's It's barely together. It's not quite flat. This side's got to be up a little bit. Let's stick something underneath here to compensate for that. Alright, I found something here. A couple little cards. Maybe one. Okay. So that's making that flat. I just needed that up a little. So there's our little seam. I'm going to get this a little closer here. Let's see what's happening here without messing this camera up. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and give this a shot. Let's tape this steady with just a little bit of, just a little tape here. I'm going to hold that there. And I'm going to put tape right across here. Looks like a good spot to secure. Okay. So that piece is a little bit secured. Not much. Doesn't take much. We're not going to be that aggressive. Okay, let's turn the torch on here. We're going to hop right to it. Oh, first let's find out. Okay, we got this little gap here. Let's find out what fits good. And I think it's going to be like this guy. Well, let's use this guy. I'm going to sink that one right in there. It fits just about right. So it's just a little lock washer. Alright, let's get the glue out of here. Okay, first thing, want to get my squirt bottle ready. Want to prime it because it might need to cool the item off if it's a little hot. And get my little pokey thing ready. Or my little push tool. Okay, let's crank this flame up here. Depending on your piece of metal, depends on how much fire you need. But this little piece will heat up red hot pretty quick, and we want to probably get this as hot as it can get. By the time you move it from the flame right down there, it's going to cool off. So it's getting red hot. You can see, I'm going to try to watch through the camera here, but okay, so it's red hot. Let's get this right down to the repair and push it on there, and we're going to melt it right in there. See that melt right in there? And then you can kind of push the plastic around that, and then you want a drop of, cool it off. There we go. Turn the torch off. That piece is impregnated right into the plastic. So let's get this off. And so now it's melted into the plastic. That gap has got, I mean, it's sealed. There's the good side. So if you were to look at this, say, well, that's a good fork or a good knife. It's pretty strong. So it's not going to, especially this direction, you see. Now this way, the way we flexed it, it's not going to be the strongest. So here's another new knife. I'm going to flex it, and you'll see it breaks. It goes quite a ways before it breaks. Here's our repair. There's our repair. Let's flex this knife. How much you think it's going to flex before it breaks? Well, here we go. That's quite a bit so far. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure right on that joint. Let's just go. That's pretty strong. It did break at the joint. As you can see, it didn't quite get it centered. Might have been a little stronger if I got that a little more centered, but pretty strong technique and repair there. Okay, secondary thing here. I'm going to toss this thing. If you wanted, when this was repaired, there we go. That's the way it was when it was before I broke it again. You can, put some epoxy over this, real thin, or not. You can put it thicker if you have more room. But with this method, it pretty much gets flush. See that? It's pretty flush. So you can use that in a hidden technique if it's behind, you know. This also works on larger objects. You just have to use larger metal and more heat and be prepared to cool it off. That is my melding technique, and this is one video of probably 10 I'm going to make of different plastics in different sizes and different just show different going to show different, the same technique with different sizes and applications. Alright, PhoenixTypewriter.com. That is my melding technique to fix plastic. Works most of the time, and I haven't seen too many of those break when I've been using them. Alright, we're PhoenixTypewriter.com. Good day.